Hello everyone, I'm Rick Fedorovich, Board Chair of the Akron Community Foundation.
And I'm John Paturis, President and CEO of your Community Foundation. I want to thank everyone for joining us for this virtual 66th annual meeting update to the community. As you'll hear today in reports from several of our board members, it's an understatement to say that this extraordinary past year was without precedent in this community and in our lives. The year brought struggles locally and across the globe, but also demonstrated our collective resolve to rally and respond and positively impact the lives of those needing our help the most. 2020 saw highs and lows, and thankfully it appears we're seeing some brighter lights at the end of this devastating pandemic. Akron Community Foundation's fiscal year began last April 1 with such uncertainty, but ended 12 months later with record achievements and 66-year high watermarks in total assets, new funds established, contributions recorded, and most importantly, grant making and distributions back out into our community when that help was so desperately needed.
As we begin our update, I'd like to thank the thousands of donors to the Foundation for your inspiring generosity this past year. During a period of such unexpected challenges for so many, your donations helped our community's nonprofits continue their vital work when their own resources were stretched so very thin, while services were actually in higher demand. In particular, I'm thankful that at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic last year, our Board of Directors approved $300,000 to establish the Community Response Fund for nonprofits. And through your generosity, that total was more than doubled, allowing us to grant nearly $700,000 in funding to nearly 200 nonprofits through this community. As I complete my second and final year as chair, I must also acknowledge the board members I've had the honor to serve alongside, as well as the hardworking staff of the Foundation. The insights and leadership of our board and the experience and expertise of our staff have helped position the Foundation for long-term growth and success, allowing us to increasingly give back to the community we all love and serve, now and forever. And I'd be remiss if I did not also thank our Professional Advisor Council, which is composed of our region's best and brightest accountants, attorneys, and financial managers. These professionals understand that charitable giving is often an integral component of their clients' financial and estate planning, and they continually find ways to keep charitable giving top of mind among their peers. Thank you.
This past fiscal year represented the fourth year of a 5-year strategic plan for Akron Community Foundation, which included a continued focus on our proactive grant making, as well as the important work of our Center for Family Philanthropy. But it also represented a year of unexpected work as well. Little did we know in the spring of 2020 that the coming fall would see us working with the County of Summit to distribute over $5.1 million in federal CARES Act funding to nearly 200 area nonprofits. We also continued our focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and pledged to help, where we can, to dismantle systemic racism that still pervades our institutions today. Yes, this work includes proactive funding, but it also includes our own organization, our staff, and our board, listening, learning, and taking deliberate steps to ensure that inclusivity permeates into everything that we do.
I'm now pleased to welcome Katie Smucker, our Governance Committee Chair, for an update on our Board of Directors.
Before I introduce our newest slate of board members and officers, I'd first like to thank the members of our Governance Committee. Over the last several years, this committee has been consciously and intentionally improving the diversity of the board, as well as providing year-round training and educational opportunities for our members. The valuable insights of this committee are greatly appreciated. As we recruited our newest board members and slate of officers who were formally approved at our June 4th board meeting, I am so pleased to announce these board members and look forward to working with them in the coming years. I hope you'll join me in welcoming Teresa Carter, President of Synthomer Foundation, Claudia Diaz-Singer, Director of Talent Development for the J.M. Smucker Company, Dr. Shefali Mahesh, Director of Pediatric Nephrology and dialysis at Akron Children's Hospital. And Ernie Potu, President and CEO of Harwick Standard Distribution Corporation. Leadership is action, not position, and this adage is reflected in the work and commitment of our executive committee slate for the coming year. Congratulations to Sylvia Trundle, our incoming board chair, Marty Hauser, vice chair, and also community relations chair and chair of our strategic planning committee, Brett Trier, board secretary, Jim Pickard, treasurer and finance chair, Doug Kaczynski, community investment chair, and Katie Smucker, governance chair, and Rick Fedorovich, immediate past chair. We're also pleased that Brett Trier has accepted a second 3-year term, while Marty Hauser, Eileen Shapiro, Dr. Rachel Talton, and Sylvia Trundle have all accepted a third and final 3-year term on ACF's board of directors. And sadly, we must also say farewell to 3 board members as they complete their time on this board: Dr. Sarah Freebert, Rob Malone, and former board chair Steve Strayer. Thank you all for your commitment to this organization and our community, and please know you will be greatly missed. Now, Jim Pickard, our treasurer and finance chair, will provide our annual financial report.
As John mentioned earlier, this past year started off with much volatility, but recovered for what turned out to be a record year for Akron Community Foundation. Following a downturn in the market in the first quarter of the 2020 calendar year, our assets dipped below $200 million. We're pleased to report at the close of our fiscal year on March 31st, they stood at an all-time high of more than $272 million and are currently approaching $282 million. We continue to be guided by our strategic investment policy, which focuses on preserving capital, promoting long-term growth, and minimizing undue risk of our charitable assets. This long-term approach has allowed us to deliver an average annualized net return of over 8.7% since 1988. But a significant portion of that asset growth was also thanks to you, our donors, for the record amount of contributions you made to the Community Foundation this year. $22.1 million in donations to be exact. This year also saw an all-time high of 52 new funds established, including 14 new endowment funds established by the Akron Area YMCA this past March, bringing our total number of charitable funds to more than 730. And most importantly, these funds and your donations also help make possible the all-time high of $20.8 million in grants and distributions that were put back into the community this past year. In addition, our staff works diligently to operate under budget, and as a result, our operating expenses at the end of the most recent fiscal year stood at just over 1% of total assets, an expense ratio that is one of the lowest in the country for a community foundation of our size. Now, to cap off this update, our incoming board chair, Sylvia Trundle, will say a few final words.
As I begin my role as chair of Akron Community Foundation, I first would like to thank Rick Fedorovich for the care and dedication he has shown to the organization these past 2 years as chair, as well as his previous years serving on the board. His strategic counsel and professional insights have served the organization well, especially during this past year. As incoming board chair, I look forward to continuing your Community Foundation's legacy that began 66 years ago with a single $1 million gift and has grown to $272 million this year. I look forward to working with our staff, volunteers, and fellow board members to strengthen the relationships we have with you, our fund holders, nonprofit organizations, donors, professional advisors, and the community at large. And I do hope that next year we'll be welcoming you in person to our annual meeting at the Hilton Akron Fairlawn. Thank you for viewing this update and being an advocate for your community foundation.